at church and all, and comments made, and of how you are at the school, and believe me, that goes throughout the whole school there, and the whole community really appreciates all that you do. So just on behalf of myself and the other board members, I'm sure may want to speak, but just my congratulations to you and appreciation for all you do for our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I know, Carol, you got to say something.
I always have to say something. Tammy was my oldest daughter's teacher, and I'm hoping she'll get some of my grandchildren down at West Hamlin.
I've had a few, just a few, but there's more to go, I know.
Oh, there's more. But I really appreciate you. She's a wonderful teacher.
Anybody else have any comments?
She's a cousin, too.
Yeah, we're cousin, little cousin.
Yeah.
Husband's side, not my side.
Now, before you ladies leave here this evening, Mr. O'Donoghue would like to make sure that he's, did you already get?
I got
the
it a second,
shot?
yeah, just
Okay.
now.
That
Thank
was
you.
mine. I had to make myself a note, so.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, appreciate y'all very much.
Thank you.
You'll represent our county well in all you do, and I know you've already started that, Amanda, with work with Mr. Cottrell and them down there at Reese's. We appreciate you. Okay, we'll move on then, and we'll pick you to Dr. Cottrell. We're going to have a RESA 2 update. It's meant to be, Dee.
I know you all
I have to
so
call,
excited.
I have to call you Dee too, so.
That's right.
I guess we've adopted you.
You're my adopted family too. So feel free to turn that thing around. Oh, somebody else might be coming here, right?
Wherever you come.
I can do this. Well, it's really a blessing to be here, especially when we're celebrating, wonderful things that are happening in your schools. That is why we're all here, and it's really very heartening and very, it makes you just feel wonderful about the work that you do in your county. And we always feel it's a privilege to work in Lincoln County with you. You're great partners. For all of you, actually, I think all of you know that the Regional Educational Service Agencies report to the West Virginia State Board of Education, and that our work is governed by statutes. There are actually 6 areas of service that we're required to perform. And I will tell you, and those of you who've worked with us know that we're very attentive to those 6 areas of service. The first is technical assistance to low-performing schools. I've got this sneaky feeling they may change some of those things in the legislature this time. If you read the papers, you'll see that there may be some changes. But right now, we're working in 29 schools in our region, providing sustained support for schools that test scores have not been where those schools want them to be, or where the superintendent and the boards want them to be. We move between 29 and 40, and that's really quite a lot of support in terms of what does that look like. Sometimes we have principal coaches, sometimes we have instructional coaches, sometimes we have folks that work with leadership teams, which are so critical to the success of schools. And right now we're running 2 sets of workshops over a sustained period this year to help folks really understand what a high-performing collaborative team looks like, because we're moving to a new iteration, for lack of a better word, a new model of how we run schools. Now, whether this actually becomes full-blown in the year 2017 remains to be seen, but the state board and the State Department are moving towards a new model, and that model includes collaborative teamwork. And that goes to the next piece that we're required by statute, that's professional development. And the new professional development model is really called professional learning model. In this model, schools take responsibility for what they believe must happen to ensure that their schools will be at the highest levels of performance. That's the model in a nutshell. And as I said at the regional council meeting last week, it's a self-empowerment model. The idea behind that is that teachers, administrators know what's best for the students in their school, and that they can make decisions once they know how to really collaborate about where those needs are. And we're working with one of the schools in Lincoln County with this model. They're called Catalyst School Models. The idea is that this model would be implemented all across the state in the year 2017. Now, it really is a paradigm shift. It really changes the way we look at schools. When you say teachers really know what's best for their students, they should collaborate, they should decide how to make changes with those students. So we'll see how that rolls out across the state over the next several years. The third area that we're responsible for is computer repair, and as you know, we spend a great deal of time working on computers. I always want to say commuters. Those commuters, you got to fix them. Same thing. We last year, I think we repaired 4,000 computers in several of our counties, and then we had another 3,000 that we worked on warranty work or did other kinds of work. That's 7,000 work orders. That's really quite a few, and we could definitely use another person, but when we're not meeting someone's needs, I always want to hear that, and that's an area that, you know, by statute, we're supposed to, within 72 hours, you know, we're supposed to really get those things moving to the next level. But I can tell you right now, we have 189 computers sitting in our office that we're working on as we speak. That's not out in the county. So we take that very seriously, of course. The next area that we are responsible for are grants. We typically have 4 or 5 grants, and all of those grants, truthfully, have been around instructional expertise for your counties, support for your teachers, extra support for them. We're changing that up a little bit. Tonight, we're presenting in the southern part of the state to a foundation for a community school concept where we'll be working with health, achievement, and graduation rates so that we can bring more than our 6 counties together to actually impact change through a holistic community service model. Hopefully we'll get that grant, but it's a little bit of a change for us, so we're looking at that very closely. The last category is other, and I can't even begin to tell you how many things fall into that category, but it's all exciting work. I thought that I might talk a little bit about the cooperative purchasing piece, which is also part of the statute 3. And we really have embraced that. You know, we're the point people. RISA-2 is the point agency for the entire state. That's really been a learning experience for me and for a couple of us at RISA-2. Lincoln County, as I reported last year, and I often report in our regional council, has embraced the idea of looking at those purchases in a very, very critical way so that your schools are saving money and those resources go into the hands of your teachers and your students. And we really applaud and support the work. And I've even reported it to the state superintendent that Lincoln County has just really looked at this, you know, very carefully. And we just really appreciate it. Today I got the numbers for the entire state for this quarter, and we sold $4.5 million worth of worth of at a really discounted rate, which resulted in $2 million worth of savings across the state. So we've been looking at that very seriously, and we really appreciate particularly Lincoln County's support in that area. The last 2 things I'll talk about, just briefly talk about the Catalyst School Movement. We have 3 schools in our region, 2 in Cabell, 1 in Lincoln, that are looking at this new model of doing business in schools. Can those schools, you know, we always talk about local control. Remember when Dr. Ferris came here and I was sitting over here and he said, local control, that's what we want. And we all believed it, and we all wanted to. We want the local counties to have control. And that's what this particular model does. It gives school control to make decisions. And it's all 3 of our schools are embracing this differently, which really I find very exciting. We have 2 schools in Kanawha County, that makes 5. They're also looking at this quite differently. So we'll see after a year what this looks like, and I'll be happy to share that information. We are keeping very detailed information about what works and what doesn't work so that folks who may embrace this model later on will not make the same mistakes that we might be making as we explore this pilot. I don't want to call it a pilot. It's really a pilot. We have a second pilot that's underway, and we had a pretty good meeting today. It's called Graduation 2020. Lincoln County High School will be the participant. We're really looking solidly at graduation rates for special education students. In many of our counties, those graduation rates are pretty low. So we're going to combine 2 pieces of a model, a school improvement model with a transition model that helps students who are students with disabilities transition into the workforce. And RISA-2 was selected to be the pilot for the entire state. And in November, we will start working with Lincoln County High School. We're really excited about the opportunity because we already are working with them on school improvement issues and the models. There are some very similar pieces to the model. We're excited to work with Lincoln County. We love working with Lincoln County. Everyone is so open and generous, and you have so much to be proud of. And I appreciate the opportunity to work with you and to support whatever you believe is important. So, you have any questions for me? I know you're just dying to ask me something.
The questions we have, you probably don't know the answer to. You know, we just read all these things, but first of all, we do appreciate all you do for us, having participated with our
meetings and all, I hear more so than a lot of the others do, although they're into it. But you know, just all the things that go on, it really sometimes overwhelms me, all that you all have to do.
It's,
And I'm sure it overwhelms you at times.
it's a lot, but it's exciting work.
Well, but apparently we're going to be seeing maybe more of that in the future. We'll see how that all pans out if you read the newspapers and believe it all. I hope if they do realign these recesses, that we'll always be, you know, we're pretty close here, so we shouldn't be in another one.
That worried me last night. They sent the latest, I don't know if you've seen the latest, it's the latest draft. I think it's a draft because it keeps changing. They say it's the latest draft, and it came out last night. And you know, of course, I had to read before I went to bed. I was like, wow. And I was worried about that. Well, wait a minute, we have very special relationships with our counties. We really don't want our counties to move to another region. So I was a little worried about that because they really did in the new model last night, although it was very regionally based friendly. It was really more positive than the last report. If any of you read the last report, you might have been reading some of the things in the paper, but the last report was really sort of taking all of the curriculum and instruction and technical assistance out of the hands of the folks in RESA, putting them in the hands of the rather large staffs that you have in the counties. And we were like, you know, if you worked in a county office ever, you might really understand that even if you remove some of those services, like business services or financial services, you're still going to be dealing every day with parents, with crises. And so what that first report suggested was then that the central office people would go out and do all of the school improvement work in the schools. Well, I'm not sure who would be taking care of business back at home, but, you know, so that was a bit of a worry for me. I noticed that in this new draft, they've really tempered that, and they recognize that while there are some services that could come to regional service agencies, like one of the suggestions is that, and it's in our, you know, our little survey that we're working on too from the regional council, is that regional folks maybe could do the auditing in schools. That might be one of the things they might be able to do, to take that off of the principals and the secretaries. I think there's some really good things in this new draft, but the last one was like, oh really, they've never worked in a central office, and I really couldn't understand it totally. But this one looks a little more like they are going to realign RESAs, and we probably could lose some of our counties. But I think they're going to try to align them with like culture, ideas. I can't imagine that we'd be lined up with Kanawha County, but you never really know. We're one of the few RESAs that we transcend our borders. We have about 5 projects, and both Carol and Steve know because they've been on the regional council before. We have about 5 statewide projects that run out of RESA, so we provide services in other areas of the state. And I run all kinds of cohorts in another part of the state. So I'm hoping that we stay together as a region, and that the 6 of us will stay together. But we don't want to be worried that somebody else would come in. That would be fine. We'd love to embrace someone new, but we hate to lose the 6 counties that we've become so close with, and we know their teachers and we know their principals. So it's a very interesting report. I would encourage everyone to read it. The only other thing I might add, and it just had slipped my mind, was that policy 3233, which governs RESA accountability, has been changed, and it's out on comment. So it'd be interesting to just take a look at that too. One of the things that's in there that really does concern me a little bit, although you know that Senator Jackson spends a lot of time with our regional council, so he knows what we're doing. But the regional council has always evaluated the executive director. Well, in this new policy, that's taken away. So I thought, well, you know, that's a little, not totally comfortable with that, but that's really the only thing I could see that really I thought was a little bit different, and I really would like to see that put back in, but what do I know? So it's out on comments, so you can make comments if you like. But in any case, it's a pleasure to work with you, and I applaud and support the work you do. So, thank you.
Well, if y'all don't have anything to say, Dee, I have something to say.
Oh, all right.
We appreciate the cooperation that we have with RESA, And all of the people there are so willing to work with us when we have a need. All we have to do is ask, and they're there. And you see to that. And we know that your leadership is, valuable. When you mentioned that R word, that sort of scared
Oh, the
some of
reborn?
us. The
No.
retirement.
Oh, the retirement, oh.
Oh, the retirement word.
The retirement word, yes.
But because, we think of all, the knowledge that you have and the experience, and with new things that are coming down, you have such an understanding, and you're able to articulate that to us and what you think things should look like, and you help us. I don't want to speak for Mr. Meekiff, I'm going to let him speak for himself, because I know he has some things to say, but we're so appreciative, and I want you to know that, because you're always there to help us when we are in need, and I thank you for that.
It's a privilege to work with you all. So collaborative.
It has been a great relationship.
They sound like I'm dying.
Well, I mean, we've had those
I'm just
conversations.
That R word was.
That R word.
So appreciative of everything that you do, and you're always there. I mean, if there's a question, a concern, I can contact you, and you'll be there on the spot to, give me some answers or point me in a direction you go. But it's been wonderful. 10 years that I've been here working with this, it's been great. Appreciate, again, all that you do.
He's a great partner, and I did consider retirement. You get to a certain point where, I say every morning when I get up, well, I still can remember my name, so I think it's a go. Of course, some of you don't know, but I am a little bit of a jokester, so I like to have fun. But I have had an opportunity presented to me over the course of the next 2 years, so I think I'll be here for another 2 years. And it's an opportunity to be the president of the National Association of Service Agencies. So I'm going to keep on having the great fortune to spend time with you and take care of that too. So it's a privilege. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to hear that, and I think the whole country apparently is going to be benefited by your service. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, that's all we had under reports and presentations.